Who are you when no one's watching? Strip away the name they gave you, the roles they assigned, the labels you learned to answer to. Who's left? Not what you do, not what you feel, not what you think. Who are you? Not many people want to ask that question because it burns. Because if you really sit with it, if you stare into the eye of that silence long enough, something terrifying begins to happen. The story starts to fall apart. And the story is all you've ever known. You've been trained to be someone. Since birth, you've been handed a script. Be a good student. Be successful. Be tough. Be happy. Be normal. Be a somebody. And behind every be is a lie. The real you is not a puppet that life pushes around. The real deep down you is the whole universe. But no one tells you that. They don't tell you that the voice in your head that says, "I'm not enough, I'm broken, I need to fix myself," was planted there. That voice, it isn't you. It's a ghost, an echo, a program running on repeat. And the more you believe it, the more it owns you. Let this land. You are not your story. You are the awareness watching the story unfold. The problem is, we've become addicted to our stories. We cling to our pain like armor. We wear our trauma like identity. We worship the false self because it's familiar, and we mistake that familiarity for truth. But the truth is raw. The truth is terrifying. The truth is liberating. Because when you stop identifying with the character you've been playing, when you let go of the performance, when you stop asking, "How do I fix myself?" and start asking, "Who is this self I'm trying to fix?" that's when it happens. Ego death, awakening, rebirth. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes like a storm, a burning away of everything false. To let go of yourself, to see that you are one with the universe, that is the awakening. This video isn't self-help. It's self-destruction. We're going to dismantle the myth of identity, expose the psychological trap of the ego, and free you from the invisible cage that's kept you playing small, scared, and scripted. So before we go any further, ask yourself one final time. If you let go of your story, who would you become? Welcome to Psycoria. Let's begin. And now the real unraveling begins. Because this video is going to take you somewhere most never dare to go, beyond identity, beyond trauma, beyond ambition, beyond even healing, into the raw, terrifying, liberating question of what's left when the story ends. This isn't positive vibes. This is spiritual surgery. In this video, guided by the disruptive, soul-awakening voice of Alan Watts, you're going to discover why your sense of self is an illusion built from memory, labels, and fear, and how to see through it. How the ego tricks you into suffering by feeding off your mental narration and past pain. The silent power that lives underneath the noise of thought, and how to access it. Why your constant need to find yourself is actually keeping you lost. The difference between your true self and the persona you've been performing as. How to dismantle the false identity that's been silently running your life from the shadows. And most importantly, you'll learn how to wake up, not just mentally, existentially. You'll leave this video with tools, awareness, and perspective powerful enough to shake your identity at the roots. This is your invitation to step out of the story and into who you truly are. Stay with this, because what comes next will change everything. You've been haunted by a voice for as long as you can remember. It tells you who you are. It reminds you what you failed at. It repeats the wounds like scripture. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'll never change. That voice, it's not your truth. It's your training. It's the story you inherited from broken systems, wounded parents, a culture obsessed with performance and perfection. A story whispered to you before you had the power to question it. But here's the part no one tells you. The story feels real because you've confused it with who you are. You don't just have a story. You are the story in your own mind. The reason you suffer is because you believe the voice in your head is who you are, and so you live inside it. You shrink for it. You build your relationships, your career, your entire identity around it. You become the overachiever to silence the voice, or the people pleaser to rewrite the ending, or the rebel to burn it all down, yet still remain trapped within its walls. But no matter what you do, the story follows you like a shadow, because the more you fight it, the more it fights back. Here's the twist. The ego doesn't care if you're happy. It only cares if you believe it's real. And it will use every memory, every doubt, every fear to survive. But the moment you question it, the moment you dare to look behind the curtain and ask, what if this identity isn't mine? The illusion starts to crack. That's when the fear shows up. That's when the ego tightens its grip. That's when everything in you screams, don't go further. This is who you are. But that fear, that resistance, it's proof you're close. You're on the edge of something bigger than healing. You're on the edge of liberation. To understand yourself, you must stop identifying with the role you're playing. This is the real problem. You've spent your whole life trying to fix the story, instead of realizing you were never the story to begin with. You've mistaken self-improvement for self-liberation, but polishing the mask doesn't set you free, it just makes the prison prettier. So ask yourself, who told you what success means? Who defined your worth? Who decided what kind of person you should be? You didn't choose this identity. You inherited it. And it's been shaping your reality, your choices, your future, without your permission. But what happens if you stop believing it? That's what we're about to find out. Because the moment you realize you are not the character, you become the author. And the story, it burns, so something deeper can finally be born. There's a quiet revolution waiting inside you. It's not loud. It doesn't scream like ambition or post quotes on your mirror. It doesn't demand improvement, success, or validation. It whispers. And when you finally hear it, when you finally listen, it says something terrifyingly simple. You are not who you think you are. Let that land. You are not the voice in your head. You are not your past. You are not your trauma, your titles, your wins, or your wounds. Those are shadows, reflections, stories. And the story is not the self. Trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. Your identity, the thing you protect, promote, panic over, it's not you. It's a performance passed down through culture, family, fear, a mask worn for so long it fused to your skin. But beneath the mask, behind the noise, beyond the roles, you are something much stranger, much wilder, and infinitely more powerful. Awareness itself. Not the thoughts, but the one watching the thoughts. Not the emotions, but the space in which they rise and fall. Not the character in the story, but the blank page it's written on. This is the shift. This is the crack in the illusion. This is where transformation begins. Because once you stop trying to fix the mask and start questioning why you're wearing it at all, once you stop clinging to identity like a lifeline and start seeing it as a costume, everything changes. That's not poetic exaggeration, that's existential reality. The ego's job is to survive. It survives by keeping you small, by convincing you that the voice in your head is you, that your limitations are facts, that your thoughts are truth. It thrives in unconsciousness, in autopilot, in fear. But the moment you turn inward with presence instead of panic, the moment you look without judgment, the moment you see the machinery at work and don't flinch, that's the moment the spell breaks. That's the moment the real self emerges, not as a new version of the old story, but as something untouched, undefined, and awake. The real you is not a thing, not a name, not a role, but a process, a happening. You are the universe looking at itself. Think about that. You are not the content of your consciousness. You are consciousness itself. This realization isn't comfortable. It doesn't come with confetti or applause. It comes with ego death. And ego death feels like everything is falling apart. But what's actually falling apart was never you to begin with. It was the scaffolding, the story, the false self. And what's left? Not a better version of you, but a truer one, a freer one, a self not owned by fear or narrative, a self that isn't a thing, but a presence, a movement, a force, a self that cannot be wounded because it was never separate in the first place. This is the fire that burns away illusion. This is the light that reveals the prison was never locked. This is not self-help. This is self-obliteration. And from that ashes, awakening. Radical, irreversible awakening. It won't fix your life. It will dismantle the false one you were living in. And in its place, you'll find something wordless. Not a new story, but silence, presence, aliveness. And in that stillness, you'll feel it. You are the eternal now, the dance of the cosmos, the observer and the observed. This is the truth your ego cannot survive. This is the truth your soul has been starving for. The question now is, will you let the story die? Because what comes next is you, the real you, the one that has nothing to prove, nothing to protect, and nothing to perform. The one who was never lost, only forgotten. We are drowning in noise. Scroll, swipe, consume, repeat. Everyone's performing. Everyone's selling an identity. Everyone's screaming to be seen, yet no one feels real. We've mistaken attention for connection and validation for meaning. Our lives have become highlight reels, polished, branded, empty. And beneath it all, we are exhausted. Not from doing too much, but from being someone we're not, all the time. In a world obsessed with image, your ego isn't just active, it's weaponized. It's curated, monetized, algorithmically reinforced. You're not just playing a role, you're uploading it, live streaming it, optimizing it. Every scroll tells you who you should be: more productive, more attractive, more successful, more spiritual, more something. And the story in your head, it grabs every piece of that and says, see, you're not enough yet. This isn't just a spiritual problem. This is psychological warfare. We live in a culture that profits from your insecurity, a system that only works if you believe the lie that you are incomplete. You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. But that's exactly what modern life demands: consistency of identity. Be the brand, be the role, be the story. Never change, never question, just perform. And inside that performance, your real self is suffocating. We chase healing like it's a job. We self-optimize until we break. We numb with content, cope with comparison, and call it growth. But the deeper truth is this: we don't need more self-improvement. We need self-liberation. We need to unplug from the ego machine and feel again. We need to remember that stillness is not laziness, it's rebellion. That presence is not weakness, it's power. That you were never supposed to find yourself out there. You were supposed to wake up to the fact that you were never lost. In a world addicted to becoming, Alan Watts reminds us of the one thing we've forgotten how to be: ourselves. Not the filtered self, not the spiritual persona, not the overworked, overthinking, overbranded shell, but the quiet, wordless, watchful self beneath it all, the one that doesn't need a story to exist. This isn't a message for the past. This is now. This is survival. Because if you don't wake up from the story soon, the story will consume you. This isn't philosophy for monks on mountaintops. This is medicine for the soul-deep sickness of our age. And the cure is presence, is silence, is truth. So stop scrolling, stop performing, stop running, and start remembering. So what now? You've seen the illusion. You've felt the weight of the story. You've glimpsed the possibility of being more than the character you've been trapped inside. But transformation doesn't happen in theory. It happens in practice. In the smallest moments. In the way you breathe. The way you speak to yourself. The way you meet silence without flinching. Here's how to begin. 1. Pause the performance. Every time you feel the need to prove, defend, explain, compare, pause. That impulse is the ego begging to survive. You don't need to kill it. Just notice it. Ask yourself, who am I trying to impress right now? Who am I performing for? Become conscious of the character, the mask, the mental role. Then drop it, even for one breath. 2. Practice the art of witnessing. For 5 minutes a day, do nothing but watch. No judgment, no fixing, just awareness. Sit still. Let the thoughts roll in. Let the stories unfold. But instead of getting pulled into them, observe them like passing clouds. Say silently, "This is a thought, not me. This is fear, not me. This is memory, not truth." You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. 3. Interrupt the narrative with the present moment. The ego lives in time, in past and future, but you only exist now. So throughout your day, train yourself to return to the present. Feel your feet on the ground. Listen to the sounds around you. Breathe consciously for 10 seconds. Look at your surroundings like you're seeing them for the first time. These tiny moments break the spell of the story. They bring you back to being. 4. Speak from presence, not persona. Next time you speak, especially in conflict, insecurity, or anxiety, ask, am I speaking from truth or from identity? Don't perform. Don't manipulate. Don't armor yourself in the role of the good one, the smart one, the victim, the powerful one. Speak with radical honesty from the stillness underneath. It's terrifying at first, but it's also freedom. 5. Let silence become sacred. You don't need more input. You need more space. Turn off the podcast. Put down the phone. Sit in stillness for 5 to 10 minutes daily. Let the anxiety rise. Let the boredom come. Let the ego scream and stay. Because beneath that noise is you. The you that doesn't need to hustle, heal, or be heard to exist. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about shedding everything you were never meant to carry. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. But it's real. And it's yours. So start now. In this moment. Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. Now. Because the story is burning. And the real you is waiting in the ashes. So who are you without your story? Not the version you show the world. Not the one chasing healing or hustling for purpose. Not the victim. Not the savior. Not even the seeker. But the raw, present, unfiltered you. The one that exists before the mind makes meaning. Before the ego makes identity. Before the world tells you what you're supposed to be. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. Yet everybody rushes around in a great panic, as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. And maybe that's the trap. We've been conditioned to believe that our worth is earned, our identity is built, and our truth is found somewhere out there. But what if the greatest act of awakening is remembering that you already are? That nothing you achieve, become, or fix will ever be more powerful than the quiet presence you return to when all roles are dropped, all masks removed, and all illusions burned away. Because the ego wants a destination, but the soul wants now. The soul wants freedom. And freedom isn't found in the next goal, the next version, the next breakthrough. Freedom is found the moment you realize you are not your story. You are the silence underneath it. So the question isn't, how do I become my true self? The real question is, am I willing to let go of everything I'm not? And that takes courage. Not the kind of courage that performs, but the kind that surrenders. The kind that lets the false identity fall apart without rushing to rebuild it. The kind that sits in the unknown and says, Even if I don't know who I am, I know I am. Even if the story ends, I remain. Because here's the truth. The ending of the story is not the end of you. It's the beginning of presence, of peace, of power that isn't performative, but real. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it, like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here. So stop waiting to be complete. You already are. Stop chasing who you think you're supposed to be. You already are. And maybe the next chapter of your life isn't about becoming more, but being less of what you're not. Let that sink in. Let it burn. Then, let it set you free. If something in you stirred, if a truth cracked through the noise, even for a moment, don't let it fade. This is more than a video. This is a signal, a call to awaken, to remember, to reclaim who you are beneath the story. At Psycoria, we don't chase comfort. We seek truth. We burn illusions. We break open the self to find what's real underneath. So if you're done performing, if you're done sleepwalking through your own life, subscribe, turn on the bell, and walk with us through the fire of transformation. Because this journey, it doesn't lead somewhere. It leads back to you. Welcome to Psycoria, where identity dies and truth begins.